Welcome to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast, episode 663, hosted by author, educator, speaker, and mom, the Cool Cat teacher, Vicki Davis. In this episode, Vicki interviews educator and public speaker Lauren Harris about how she inspires students to be as passionate about mathematics as she is. Lauren has been teaching for over 10 years in the high school and collegiate levels and is also an 11th grade dean and mathematics teacher at University Liggett School in Michigan. Let's join the conversation with Vicki and Lauren now. Enjoy!
In today's socially challenging times, teaching kids how to build social, emotional learning skills can be tough. If you're an educator looking for ways to integrate SEL into your lessons or a parent supporting learning at home, the All-State Foundation and we are committed to providing you with the resources you need to get started at we.org/SEL. Stay tuned at the end of the show to learn more about this sponsor. So as many of you are working to have meaningful online projects and engagement, I pulled out one of the most popular math episodes we've ever aired. Math Class PBL, Create Memorable Learning with Projects with Lauren Harris. And Lauren, you teach math. You're all involved in the Michigan Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and you use projects to teach math. How awesome is that?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It was very nerve-wracking at first to try it. After doing them for the first time, I knew that it was something special and something I wanted to incorporate in all my classes.
Okay, so how does this work? Give us an example.
I'm going to use an example from my history of mathematics course. It's really student driven and it's really, up to them. I talk to the students and they determine what the rubrics look like. They determine topics, and then they also determine what the projects look like. For example, our end of the year project period was about making a pyramid for a certain pharaoh. And so what the students got to do was create the rubrics of the paper portion of it and of the pyramid portion of it. So they were able to make pyramids out of whatever materials they wanted. So I had some, use laser cutters. I had some use 3D printers. Some even used paper mache, but they all used whatever they felt comfortable with and what they wanted to create.
Did they use math in the project?
Yes. So at first they thought that it was just going to be, how hard is it to put, four sides together of a pyramid and stack them together? And when they started doing their prototypes, that's when they realized, oh my gosh, they aren't matching up. It's not sitting the way I wanted. And so we were able to incorporate the trigonometry in it.
Awesome. Now you teach some other classes, pre-cal and others. Have you incorporated projects into those classes too?
Oh, absolutely. And it was, one of the best decisions I made. Like for my Prob and Stats class, they always have a project at the end of the year that deals with just probability, where they have to create a game for first graders to play to understand what probability is and to learn about probability.
Oh, how incredible. Do actual first graders play the games?
Yeah. So, why we're so fortunate here at Liggett is we are a pre-K through 12 school and we're all located on the same campus. So my seniors and juniors know that, hey, we are going to create these games and literally walk it down to the first grade classrooms and play with the first graders.
So all those probability questions on the SAT don't throw your kids, huh?
Right. I hope not.
So give us another example. So you've given us a probability example. Do you have another one to give us?
Sure. With our algebra classes, we do bottle rockets. And so end of the year, talking about quadratics, they were able to make bottle rockets and be able to write out the equations of those quadratic formulas.
Okay, Lauren, so you got math teachers intrigued. They're very interested. Are there any mistakes you want to warn them not to make?
Be okay with making mistakes. Be okay with letting the students kind of take charge. Whenever the students ask me, an interesting question about like how the project should be written, like where should they start, I just give it back to the students and ask them to figure that out. And it really is surprising for me, but really a relief of just how well the students are problem solvers and figure out we should do it this way. And, we should be, graded by what it looks like or the math behind it. It's when the students have buy-in and the students really make up everything for the project and you just kind of give the topic and let them run with it. It's amazing what they can do.
Okay, so you know what I'm probably going to say? This is a question you might get a lot. What about not covering the curriculum? Do you have to cut out the stuff you're supposed to quote cover. And I'm not crazy about that term cover, but we all use it.
Oh, it's definitely, always a topic of concern. And for me, it's nice because I've had Algebra 2 Trig and then pre-calc where I've had the same students in those two classes year after year. When I just did a traditional test on the material, the next year they would come around in my class and would swear up and down that they didn't remember ever learning it, where I was standing
doesn't that
up
drive
there.
you crazy?
Yeah. And so I was like, well, traditional tests aren't working. Let's try the project way. And it's amazing year after year where I have those students in the classes where when they show up that second year and I bring up the topic in pre-calc, they can talk about the topic in detail. They're like, oh, remember when we did this and remember when my rocket messed up here, but it was because of this and that. I mean, it's just amazing how they can make a connection and how they remember the material. So yes, I mean, there's always that concern that you're spending too much time on a project and not the content. However, the students remember it. And so I would much rather do projects that maybe last a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, the students remember it.
Well, here's the thing. We know that we're supposed to teach with stories because humans tend to remember stories, but it just hit me as you're talking about this. When we do projects, and I'm a big fan of project-based learning, the students are actually living their own story of using that content. So doesn't it make it even more powerful?
Oh, yes. I mean, just so much more powerful. And just the information that they find, juniors and seniors, trust me, they are kind of checked out of school. And they come running in class telling me about what they looked up, a video they found, like information they never knew before that they want to use, they want to try. It's unbelievable.
Okay, Lauren, where do teachers get started? Point to a couple places besides your Twitter handle, Harris House Math.
Ooh, I just any crazy project that you think of. That topic, I mean, I hate to say just Google it, but I mean, go to the teachers down the hallway, especially with math, go to those science teachers and ask how they incorporate different like math and how you can do a project. Because really anything you think, as soon as you start talking to your colleagues, as soon as you research a bit, your mind gets flowing of all the possibilities. And honestly, end of the day, when you aren't sure about a possibility, just ask the kids, because the kids will tell you, oh yeah, that's cool. Or, like, oh no, I don't want to do that, but did you ever think about doing this? The kids honestly come up with so much great material and great ideas that I kind of started rolling with it with the kids.
And I think that we have to do like you've done, Lauren, and we have to take a good hard look at, are we trying to check a box or are we trying to create memorable learning that will stick with students and truly educate them? And I think that when we really face up to the fact that this check the box learning, test-based learning, because I used to give tests back when I started teaching in 2002, I gave these big 200 question tests and people remembered nothing.
Right.
And now they can just tell me all kinds of things and talk about what we've learned, even years and years and years. I mean, I saw some kids last year that I taught 10 years ago. And it was like we picked up with a conversation right where we left off. And they're like, we were talking to each other. It was two of the guys. We were talking to each other and we were like, Miss Vicky's right again, because it was about technology. And it was 10 years later. And I was like, oh, this is so great. I still get to be their teacher. Okay.
Absolutely.
So Lauren Harris has lots of resources for us in math and math teachers and teachers of every subject. I think we just need to remember that if you effectively use project-based learning to teach, as we've talked many times on the show, that it is a very powerful teaching and learning method. Thanks, Lauren.
Absolutely.
In today's challenging times, we know how critical it is to make sure kids are equipped with social and emotional learning skills to cope with the world around them. That's why I'm excited to highlight today's sponsor, the We Schools program made possible by the Allstate Foundation. It brings social and emotional learning together with service learning, helping children build key skills such as resilience, empathy, perseverance, and problem solving. Whether you're an educator looking for ways to integrate SEL into your lesson planning or a parent looking to support your kids' remote learning at home, go to we.org/SEL for helpful educational resources and tips. Our friends at the Allstate Foundation and we are committed to providing you with the resources you need to get started. Thanks, we and the Allstate Foundation, for sponsoring this podcast episode.